What's going on, guys? Deathstroke here. It has been far too long, sorry about that, but I haven't really had much to make content on. So, finally coming up with something, I want to talk about the downfall of the PvE side of Destiny, and kind of what I think is going to end this game. I don't think that this game is going to have a 10-year fruition. I just don't think it's gonna last 10 years. Not in its current state, not the way that they choose to not storytell, because they fell at it. So I want to talk a little bit about when I look for a game. You want it to be difficult. I want it to be difficult, but with a certain sense of adventure, certain sense of storytelling, certain sense of achievement after accomplishing all these things, because you had to find a certain way to strategize and do certain things, and some levels might be harder, so you have to think about them. Some you can just kind of run and gun through and make shit happen. Well, that's not the case with Destiny 2. They don't ever really tell you much about anybody, and if they do, they spend 30 seconds on a character and think that they've somehow fleshed it out and made them seem more meaningful. We got to see Zavala bitch a lot during the entire campaign of Destiny 2, but that was about it. Ikora, she felt weak because, oh shit, she's kind of a normal person and fears dying. So you get maybe, a minute of her, but she was still kind of a pain in the ass to begin with. And she ended up being a pain in the ass in the end, where she's just difficult. But what does that do for you? That doesn't tell me anything more about these characters. I want to know the battles that they face. I want to know the suffering. I want to see splits, past cinematics from when they were just amazing, when she was side by side with Osiris and he was her mentor, and how all that came to be. Show me that. Show me something that is worthwhile. So they don't in the end. And then we have Gaul, which seems like a character that was big, bad, and ugly, and way too easy to beat. I don't think one of my friends has ever said, oh man, Gaul, that guy was really difficult. I don't think I could manage. Because we all know that that's just not the case. I mean, it was easy as could be. You can do it by yourself. You don't need a team. You don't need any help. And you get endless supers to beat him for some dumb reason. But moving on to the expansion. You think that if they had issues, hey, it's the expansion. I got it. They came with a lot of problems that they should not have had. But it's the expansion now. They're going to fix it. I have faith. I have faith. They're going to tell this story, and it's going to be a great story. And the ending result was it wasn't. You find out about a character who was the most powerful warlock, one of the most powerful guardians to have ever lived. And you're like, wow, that sounds badass. Then we get an opening trailer where this dude is just so fucking amazing. Somehow his gun one hits everything. Mine never does that shit. Don't know about yours, but mine doesn't do that. And yet they didn't say anything about him. He literally was in it at the beginning. You see kind of what he does, how he just makes little, I don't know what you want to call them, like memories of himself throughout time to guide you. But other than that, you see him at the beginning and at the end. And in the beginning, he's not interacting with you. He's interacting with his ghost, which is even more dumb because there's nothing that you're doing that's making you interact with this character. And then when all things come to end, he doesn't even really interact with you. He interacts with Ikora. And you're just like, can I get a break? But at the same time, if he did interact with your character is a fucking mute for some dumbass reason. So you would probably just nod at one of the most powerful historic warlocks that ever existed. Which, I'm not saying we have to be fanboy over here like Brother Vance, but I'm pretty sure you would say something. He would appreciate you doing your task, and you would truly appreciate more than just a stupid ass Destiny nod that you got to meet this fabled character. Now I say that because lately I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I've already beat the campaign long ago. I had a few little missions here and there I had not done. But what I really loved about it was they didn't make excuses as a game, as a company, as anything. They didn't make excuses. They gave everyone a voice. your character has a fire inside her, and I love that they give you the option to kind of tailor certain scenarios. If you want to be a tough person, if you want to be loving, if you want to be caring, if you want to be whatever it may be, you have the ability to be that person in Horizon. You can be, very complex. Every little character you meet, somehow they manage to flesh out a story in them and really tell you about why that character is doing what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they don't do that in Destiny. They don't even attempt to do that in Destiny. They're so afraid and hiding behind, well, they might know too much and the story might not be intriguing, that they don't make the story intriguing at all. And then you kind of wondered why the fuck you just wasted time doing what you were doing, because it wasn't worth anything. You're like, oh, I just did all this stuff. I'm going to learn more about the... And then you get to the end and you realize you didn't learn anything. You shot the same vexed robots over and over again and didn't learn anything. So something that I was trying to explain to one of my friends when we were talking about this game, we were talking about how there's really no depth, how there's no story behind it, and really getting into like trying to pick out the characters and see what story they actually put in. And I was telling them about Horizon and telling them about just how well they handled doing the story. And Horizon's set up to where you have your main mission, side missions, and you have errands. Well, one of your errands, you end up meeting this girl who's really sad. She's a drummer, but she's not a typical drummer. She literally drums on pipes. She drums on pipes that were in like a dam, an old dam underneath the dam. And when it resonates throughout the land, it makes a song. And you hear this and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting enough. I'm going to be put on a mission to go, I guess, unflood these pipes so you can go down there and make music. Well, you go down, try to unflood the pipes so she can get back to making music, because that's what her father did. That's what her grandfather did. And you learn this all from talking to her for a few seconds. And then next thing you know, you meet a guy, and this guy is stuck in there. He presses the button, and he was the cause. He doesn't know anything about the technology, because the game is, you are really one of like 3 people that knows anything about actual technology. Everyone else is very new to the world of this, because technology was gone before they came, before they were born, before they existed. And you're kind of, the world is kind of reverted back to the primal ages. And you end up meeting a guy in there, and he's so excited. He's like almost talking like Yoda in slurs. And he's so excited about finding this thing he calls a looking glass. It was on the other side of this wall, and he was trying to get in, but he couldn't. And he just looks at you when you finally tell him you're going to help him, and he freaks out and says, you have a set of hands. And it's all because there's a valve inside the room you're in, a water valve, and you can turn one, and now he turns the other. While as if he was just by himself, he couldn't. So he was not only just ecstatic that he wasn't stuck, but he let you know why he wanted to be in there. He gave you the story about, as a kid, he used to look through the looking glass with his mom and how much it meant to him. And you finally help him out. You look through all this stuff, and come to find out there was no looking glass in there. He shows utter emotion that he's not going to get to see that thing that he was so happy about when he was a kid. And he's older when you meet him, but you learn his name, you learn a little bit about him, you learn the type of character he is, all in that little thing. And this was a person you didn't even meet to go on the side mission. You met him in lieu of a mission. You then come back and he says, oh, well, this story is so grand, we should tell it together. And you end up seeing him again in a village, so you guys can interact one more time, because you've already learned his name, a little bit about him, and all kinds of stuff about, his story from just a few minutes. And yet Destiny fails to do that. You then come back to the original girl that was the drummer that drummed on the pipes, and you meet her down there when she's out there drumming, because you hear it throughout the land. And then you go back and she gives you a reward. Obviously, you helped her do what she loves. And then she explains even more. She says, that this is her passion. This is what her father did. This is what her grandfather did. And she's just so happy that she can go back to doing what she loves. And I was like, just playing this, I'm like, I've learned so much depth about these characters' stories and what they enjoy and why they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing what they're doing from a little side errand. There was another mission that was way more in depth, but I learned more in that 20-minute mission than you do on the entirety of the campaign of Destiny 2, let alone the DLC of Curse of Osiris. And that's an issue. That's a writing issue. I mean, that's just, they don't want it to be upbeat. They don't want to tell too much because they're afraid. And that's the shame, is that they should be willing to, they don't have to tell a lot, but at least give their character emotion, give their character some depth, and give their character a worthwhile experience so we can really get to know the person that we call our guardian, the person that we play as our guardian. Give us some kind of depth. But if you played Horizon, you already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I suggest playing it because it gives you everything that Destiny doesn't as far as a story. If you want a good story, that game gives you it every step of the way. Because one, your character has a voice, isn't it mute? Because that's dumb. Don't have a main character that's mute unless that's the goal behind your game. Deaf character, mute character that can't talk, whatever it may be. But that's a rarity in itself. Make the character have an emotion. Make the character have a tone. Make the character have depth. Because that's what I love about games like Horizon, is that you walk around a city and all the side missions and all the people you meet, there's so much depth in learning how that character is, what their attitude is, what their values are, if they're good, if they're bad, if they're shady. You learn it all by talking to them. And then you can categorize your will that they have, little answer will, to put in perspective, and kind of tailor it to how you want to answer things. Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be loving? Do you just want to play the smart answer and just kind of ease your way out of the situation smoothly? Do you want to give praise? There's all kinds of answers you can give. I remember one where you were trying to go retrieve something from someone, and they were trying to be a smart ass to you because, you know, you're a little a small redhead girl, and they're this big burly person, and she looks him dead in the eyes and said, "Do you want me to make you?" And you're just like, is this shit just happened? But it's true, because all of the things that she's overcome throughout this story, you know that she is well capable of doing anything. And that's crazy, because you would get the same thing in Destiny, and it's like, yeah, they praise you for being amazing and that you've accomplished a lot, but they don't really seem like they sell it. When we talk about Osiris, it's like, yeah, he's cool, he did all this stuff. He's been trapped in a fucking Vex time gate thing forever, it seems, and that's all he's been doing. Why, you fought off the Fallen, you fought off Siva, you fought off the Hive, Crota, Oryx, you're about to eventually fight off Savanthon. You have fought every fucking adversary that's come your way and protected not only Guardians, but the human race, Earth, Mars, the Moon. You've protected all of these places, and yet he's the one that we're talking about. They should be looking at you like you're a god. You are the Saint 14. You are Osiris of the new era. And none of that happens. They're not looking at you like you're amazing, because half the time they don't recall the past of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And what I really liked the most was I did an old mission right before I actually came up and recorded this. I did an old mission on Horizon, and this dude sends you out to get a box, and he's supposed to give you a prize for it. And he just tells you it's at a place that you can't reach, or people can't reach. So you end up climbing the side of a mountain, you go up there, and the dude tries to ambush you. He's like, "Oh, you found it. Give me your spear or I'll kill you." And she's like, she literally looks at him, and I'm trying to think of exactly what she says, but she says, "You know what I'm capable of. Are you sure you really want to test that?" And he's like, "I like my odds." Funny enough, I end up killing every single person he tries to send to kill me. And then you go find him in the village. And it's so aggressive in nature that she literally looks at him and goes, I like my odds. You know what I've done. You know what I'm capable of. And that's what Guardians need. Guardians need that I've done all these accomplishments. Bring it my way. And talk about me so people actually acknowledge what I'm doing. Not, let's hope we can get this one, Guardian. Well, one, unlike her, I could just keep coming back to life because I'm a fucking Guardian, and that's the loophole in it. I can continually be revived over and over and over. But two, look at the accomplishments that the Guardian's done and add them up and let it be known in the game. Give the backstory as it was. But they don't. So this game is going to fall apart if they don't have people write their stories with passion. That if they don't have people write the story that needs to be told. Stop hiding everything behind walls. Stop hiding everything behind DLCs that don't give you more information. And truly tell the story that needs to be told. I say that as a big fan of this game and what it could have been, but what it's not. I've watched over 20 different YouTubers literally just leave the game. I watched half my friends list just leave the game. They came, they did the DLC, they thought it was the dumbest thing they'd ever played and are no longer playing. And when people write off your game completely that did nothing for the last 3 years but promote it, that's not a good sign that you're doing everything right. Crappy part is that Horizon, which has probably the best storytelling of any game I've ever played, and with their DLC just added to the plethora of wealth of storytelling, will not have any further expansions, according to the maker of the game and the CEO of the company that makes it. They will have no further expansions. So maybe Bungie needs to find all these little writers and producers and game execs that worked on Horizon and reel them in, because they have talent. They know what it is to tell a story, to give someone a voice, and to make something that is truly captivating. And that's what Destiny should be.
I'm at an all-time